All right, guys, today we're going to be doing some work on this 57 Chevrolet project car. What we've got going on down here is we're going to have to do another redo item. Several years back when this idler arm bushing was installed, first few times we've tried to steer it, it has ripped away here. So just defective happens sometimes, so we're going to have to pull it back off and replace it again. So I figured I'd take you guys along for the ride. To get this off, the first thing I'm going to be doing is getting these cotter pins off on this nut right here on the bottom. And then we're also going to take the one off on this nut back here. And we'll just take this assembly out itself. And then I'll show you how to replace the bushings. So if we can find a home for the flashlight here. Hopefully that's in a good spot. And then we're going to bend this guy out so we can pull him without blocking your view. I'm trying to use some flat type of pliers because I actually want to reuse this particular cotter pin because I haven't even got any miles on this restoration yet because we just haven't gotten far enough along with it. I guess by the fact that that just popped off, we will not be reusing this cotter pin. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but just bending the wire back snapped off that piece, so we'll have to replace it anyway. All right, and then we got the same kind of deal up here on the front. Now you guys, of course, would be doing this from below, but same kind of procedure. I'm going to take this kind of tool here to pull this cotter pin out. I don't know whether it's more cramp coming in from the top or coming in from the bottom. I'm going to block your view for just a moment. See if I can pinch these guys together a little bit more. See if we can get this guy to come out now. There we go. All right, that guy's out. And then I'm going to need to find a socket for this, an English socket. Not sure what size it is. Try this 11/16. Nope. All right, gonna have to get a bigger one. All right, guys, got a 3/4 inch English socket on here. Get this nut off. Castle nut. I'm gonna take the extension off. And get the one here in the back, or the front rather. Okay, we've got a special washer that's got like a notch on there that we'll need to take off. It goes on top. Might need to get ourselves a rubber mallet. Let's see if we can work it off. I'm sure if you're working on one that's been on there for a while, it's going to be a lot harder to get off. All right, so what we're going to have to do, we got another one of these washers that's kind of entombed itself on the bottom here. Another one of these notch washers. We're going to have to push this guy out. So we're going to go out to the press and push this guy out, and then I'll show you how to get a new one in there. All right, guys, we got this set up on our press. What I've done is I've taken one of these kind of bearing tools and flipped it upside down because that'll give us the right height. And then I'm just going to use a socket that's smaller than the original bushing. Get this guy into position. And then we're going to push him out. At least that's the theory. Now, because of this rubber being all messed up here, I might just push this down a little bit and then cut all that off. I'm afraid it's going to get in the way of actually removing this. Try to push it down a little bit further and then take it up and see what we got. Yeah, okay, that's working out okay. So it just kind of ringed around the socket. Perfect. Maybe. No, not perfect. So what's going on here is the socket I chose is just a little bit too small, right? So it's going inside the shell. So we need to have one a little bit larger to push the actual shell of this bushing out. So let me grab a different one and we'll continue. All right, guys, I'm going to step up and use a 13/16 socket. That's small enough that it's smaller than the bore of the idler arm, but still big enough to catch the edge of the bushing shell. In this kind of a thing, you want to get it dead on. That's a little bit off for me. Now, you might be able to do something like this in a pinch using a vise or something like that, but I do enough of this kind of work that I've got a lot of these tools in the garage here. All right. All right, let's see if this... There we go. I'm just going to let it up again. You know, I'm very cautious about this kind of stuff because I don't want to get in a situation where I get the socket, you know, stuck in there, right? So I'm feeling comfortable the socket's going to be fine. And then you can see we pushed that bushing shell in the way we wanted it. So I think we're good. We can double down on it now. Now, when these things are really old, they can sometimes pop pretty loudly. So this is definitely a eyes and ears kind of exercise, just to be sure. Okay. Popped out on the floor there. There's our old one. So, you know, it looks like it's strictly just a failure of the rubber. So we're going to go ahead and install the new one while we're here. This particular idler arm is a 370/77/45A, which is a power steering type of arm, but it'll be fine for, I mean, the procedure is going to be the same and fine for a manual as well. All right, so there's a little bit of grease or something on the edge here. I'm going to go ahead and clean that off first. I don't want any of that in there, and then we'll go ahead and push the new one in. All right, guys, let's go ahead and push this in. So you can see I'm using the same tool to give me some height and some control here. I've got the opening appropriate for this guy to fit through. When you put it back in, the bushing, the OEM style bushing has a ridge here. You're going to push in until you hit that ridge. You're going to need something that's going to push along the outer rim. So we're going to use this socket here for that because it'll clear the rubber. It won't do any damage to it. And then just because we've got this size socket, it's pretty large for our plunger, I'm actually going to stick a piece of metal in here, which I'm just going to use one of my other wrenches. Nice thick piece of steel. All right, so what I wanted to make sure of is that I've got this guy perfectly straight before I bear down on it. Right now I can see it's going at a little bit of an angle. Just going to back it off. It's one of those kind of things that you want to take your time, get it done right. Yeah, it went in just a hair at the wrong angle. This over just a little bit. Get it centered again. Ah, guys, geez. Let me get this set up and then we'll come back. All right, now we've got everything centered and lined up. Now we just need to drive it in. Now, if at any point you feel resistance, you know, you just always want to keep an eye on it. You know, maybe you have this in the wrong position. The last thing you want to do is go through all this effort and then have it scrape or cut up that new bushings rubber. All right, so we can see that ridge right there coming up. So we're just going to go down until we bottom out that ridge. That's it. We're done. Caught everything that time, so we didn't have any falls. Yeah, so taking a look at it, maybe one more push just to get that fully seated. But we have no damage to our rubber on top or bottom. It's another thing, too, when you want to look at these, you want to make sure the rubber feels soft and that there's no cracks. If you get one of these that's got cracks in it, it's garbage. Or if it's got tears in it, too, it's garbage. All right, so I'm going to put this guy back on. I'm going to give him like one more smidge, and then we'll go back and reinstall it. Hey, guys, ready to put this back on. Since this is a restoration-type vehicle, just trying to use a little Preloop 6, try to use to keep the bare steel from getting surface corrosion. Before we mount this guy. You can obviously skip this step if you're not in that same situation. All right. Come back under here. I have to go get a little rubber mallet here. Grab that out of my toolbox. See if we can use that to give it some persuasion, gentle persuasion. And put it back inside both of these. Catch is you got to get them both on very straight to begin with. If you get one started, not the other one, it's very difficult to get the back one in. I have to block your view for just a second. Almost. All right. Okay. Got our special washer with the notch. Got our castle nut. And then again on the bottom, we've got our special washer. It fits in with the notch. And then we've got our castle nut. Go ahead and get these started. Then we'll torque them down. I'm just going to tighten them up here till they're snug, just to make sure everything's seating properly. If we take a look at the assembly manual from 57, it's the only place you can really find the torque for this section. We're in section 9, sheet 2. We can see here the idler arm. We're looking in from the driver's side, and we can see we've got a couple of notes on both of these nuts, which is not to tighten them until after the wheels are straight in the head position, which these are. I would also suggest, if you've got it off the ground, wait till you get the vehicle weight on it before you try to tighten them up. And then what we can see for the one below the bushing we just replaced, we got a number 3 torque footnote. We jump up here to the torque footnote, so we can see that's supposed to be 55 foot-pounds. There's actually a little note down here on 3, which tells you that that torque was 45 foot-pounds, but was changed in February 20th of 1957. So all the things you need here and all the history you need here are right in front of you. The only problem I've found here is that this particular guy here, they tell you the cotter pin to use, but they don't tell you what the torque value is, right? So it's just a little omission they have. I'll have to hunt for that torque in a different spot. I'll roll it at the bottom when I find it, but we'll go with 55 on this one, and then I'll roll the thing down here for the bottom when I find that. Now, the way you would do this, like they say, they got a little star down here next to this guy. Tighten it to the next notch to insert the cotter pin. So you torque to 55, and then if you don't have the hole lined up with one of the cutouts in the castle nut, turn it until you can, and that's what you would do in that situation. So we're basically done with this repair. I hope this helps you out. The part number, the GM part number for that bushing, discontinued ages ago, 3714575. Sometimes you can use these. I would definitely not try to use the ones in the old yellow and black packaging because the rubber is going to be too far gone. But these ones from the 1970s are sometimes okay. Sometimes you can find the reproduction ones, if they've got that little shoulder like I showed you, they could fit in okay. I believe the one that we ended up having to redo here was because I went with the reproduction, and that's why this time I went with OEM, because I didn't want it to tear apart on me like it did this last time. Anyway, so I hope that helps you out. If you got some questions or comments on this, go ahead and leave them below. I'll try to help you. If you found this video interesting, or it helps you with your old car, or you just found it entertaining, go ahead and hit that like button. Appreciate the extra search discovery on there. Thanks for watching.